नमस्कार, आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन। हुनर है तो कल है, हुनर है तो कद्र है। यही स्वर मुखर कर रहा है आज का हमारा पहला सत्र, स्किलिंग इन स्कूल, कल्टिवेटिंग द एंटरप्रेन्योरियल माइंडसेट इन एजुकेशन। स्पीकर्स के रूप में हमारे साथ हैं श्री राज नेहरू, वाइस चांसलर श्री विश्वकर्मा स्किल यूनिवर्सिटी, हरियाणा।
So first of all, thank you very much to Dr. Sudha Acharya, chairperson of this NPSC annual conference. And thank you for inviting me to speak during this occasion on the second day. I'm glad that I had the opportunity of being part of the team where I'm speaking along with Dr. Ratan Wattal and Dr. Vinay Thakur. It's a privilege. So what I did, I kept a couple of charts for me to share with the audience, while we had an elaborate presentation by Dr. Wattal about the overall policy architecture for last couple of years that has gone into, and how it started some decades back and now how it has progressed now. I still consider that the biggest challenge today in the skill and vocational education is that I call it 4P syndrome. We have an issue of perception, progression, parity, and practice. And this perception is across all ages and all levels. People still continue to feel that the skill or vocational education is the last resort, and it is offered to those who are not able to become successful in general education or technical education. So that's a perception. And that's how the entire education ecosystem is treating this vocational and skill education. The second important challenge is the progression. We don't know, once a person completes a certificate course or a vocational program, how does one go up? In the general and technical education, people have clarity about the movements, vertical mobility or the horizontal mobility. We have another challenge of parity and practice. The practice is the issue emerging from lack of infrastructure, lack of quality trainers. The vocational education continues to be treated the way the general education is today treated, while as the objectives of vocational education are very, very specific, well-defined, but unfortunately that's not happening. So I put a couple of charts because my topic was more around the schooling. And I have just gathered few charts together, some data points together, which is not very new, but most of you would be aware about it. We, a nation with 1.3 billion population, where 41% of the population is less than 18 years. So approximately 50 crore people are today in this age group. And one of the biggest challenges today that we have is that more than 35 million children today between the age group of 6 to 11 do not attend school, which is one of the biggest challenge that the nation is today facing. And when we were hearing about the women part, more than 53% of the girls in the age group of 5 to 9 are illiterate, which is a biggest challenge. Look at the dropouts. You have a major dropouts happening at upper primary and secondary. And why I'm highlighting this upper primary and secondary, because a huge population today, when they drop out from the schools, they largely enter into the labor market or the self-employment market. And because they are not skilled, they are not well skilled, they are not vocationally trained, they land up into menial jobs. And that landing up into the menial jobs also means the sustainability of those jobs is very poor. The cumulative annual growth rate of earnings in those jobs and continuity in those jobs with the good earnings with time also diminishes with time. So that's another challenge when we see early dropouts happening at the school. And one of the biggest challenges today, what we see, why people are dropping, most of the surveys have indicated it's largely because of the financial issues that they have at home. So the boys have to enter into the labor market, or girls will have to stay back at the home. So these are the two indicators that tell us what's happening with the small children when we look at them. And another reason is when students prefer to drop out, besides economic reasons, the other reason is they do not show their ability and alignment with the requirement and challenges of education at a specific higher level. And because they are not able to compete with that level, so they prefer to drop out because of various other reasons. There is another challenge at the school level, which most of the data points, and you may be aware. Then look at the reading skills. If you look at the reading skills at standard 2, the standard 3, you will find when you compare them, only 20% of students at standard 3 would be able to read standard 2 subjects. And this is in the government schools, and in the private schools, it's a little higher. And when you compare the same, when the students move up to class 8th, the percentage is a little higher, but still it's very very disappointing state of affairs. And same goes when you look at the reading of letters and recognition of numbers. We have similar challenges. I'm trying to highlight it with this very specific agenda that we need to understand what is the quality of education that we are today providing to these youngsters who at least decide to stay in the schools for some time until upper secondary or higher secondary stage. Now, the COVID has also put lots of challenges on us. We have seen many students who have been treated and trained and taught through online mode of education. Most of these children will have these digital gadgets with them, but unfortunately, data is indicating more than 27% of the students do not have access to internet. So they may have a small gadget or a smartphone at home, but they are not able to access that. The big challenge that we have when we look at the skilling, while there's a huge opportunity of employment in most of the sectors, if you look at various sectors, auto sector, healthcare sector, manufacturing sector, agriculture, or retail, or in any other sector, you'll find huge job employment opportunities. But unfortunately, when you compare with the formal skill training of our youths, we are far, far behind. The challenge is what the previous speaker also said, that there is a velocity of change and speed of disruption is very high. The new technologies are replacing very faster. The shelf life of the skills learned earlier is quickly vanishing. So the pressure on the institutions is even higher, that how do we prepare students for a lifelong learning approach so that they continue to stay relevant in the field as long as they live in the job. And why I am showing this innovation part, because this is very important, because this is critical for India to become a employable nation. If we do not have more innovations happening in the country, we may not have new opportunities of employment coming in the country. So I also found this very, very relevant, that because it also depends on how we are developing and grooming our children in the country. Currently, India's ranking is around 48th in the overall innovation ranking. There's a similar situation on the patents, so I'm not bringing that chart here, but I was looking at the patents. It's also very dismal. Look at the latest report of India Skills, report 2022. It shows only less than 40% graduates who are coming out of the institutions are employable, and various segments have shown even that employability is even lesser than 40%. In some sectors, it's less than 30%. Now, this is a situation which India and can easily avoid. We have a huge demographic dividend which Vatal Sahab also talked about, a young economy, a young population. And if this population is not provided with the relevant skills, relevant knowledge, relevant competencies, we will be missing the bus and we will not be able to meet the challenges that the India has to address to. And this demographic dividend can turn into a demographic demon in near future. So India has a great opportunity, and there are opportunities emerging in many countries where the economies are aging and they are looking for youngsters to support them. And India is one of the countries which has a huge potential if we are preparing our youngsters for these vocations. The challenge is that when we compare the vocational training we provide in India compared to the vocational requirements in other countries, for example, in the West or in the some Asian countries where there are employment opportunities, the qualification standards are not comparable. So there is a need to make sure that the qualification standards that we offer here in the vocational education are similar to the global standards. So standardization of qualification, vocational qualification training is also required if we have to really leave. I have picked up these five areas which are very critical, and our ancient education also focused on these parts: the cognitive, physical, social, emotional, technological, and language. These are the six areas that I think are very critical, and schools will have to play a important role. And unless we address all these six skills at the school level, unless we relook at the curriculum the way we are offering it to the students, we will not be able to meet the challenges that come at the later stage when these students become eligible for higher education or they want to enter into the labor market at the early stage. So what is important is that while on the one side we have to focus on integrating various skills into the curriculum and the syllabus that we have designed for the school level, we have to make sure that the curriculum is designed in such a way that it provides opportunities of reasoning, problem solving, evaluating, decision making, and analyzing as a set of critical thinking at the early stages of the life. So how we help students to listen more, how we help students to comprehend and respond, how we help students to read and write, how we help students to reflect. These are some active learning techniques that we have to make sure they are curated in our curriculum at the early stages. Whatever you are teaching, whether you are teaching English, you are teaching math, you are teaching social studies, you are teaching science, teachers have to relook at the new pedagogical methods that are designed keeping into view these skills in whatever they are teaching, and then they are combining vocations at the early stages. So government has also brought in the new legislation the new education 2020 that we can see in the next chart. So focus has to be on how we create a whole brain development of the children at the school level, and that can only happen when the faculties, teachers are bringing in a very sustained redesigning of the curriculum at the early stages of the school. The new education policy, as we have seen clearly, has made a tectonical shift from the erstwhile 10+2 model to 5+3+3+4, and it is going to address the very specific requirements right from the formative stages of the brain development to the later part of the development in a more structured manner. But I think it's going to take time because such transformations do not happen in one day, but every school can at least at their own level rework on such aspects. We have developed in our own university a KG to PG model. Shri Vishwakarma Skill University is the first of its kind to bring in the Skill Innovative School, which is approved by the CBSE. In this school, besides the two general subjects, mathematics, science, social studies, a student has a choice and along with language subjects, the students are offered two additional compulsory subjects, which they have to pick up from the list of 15 vocational subjects. So on the right hand side, if you can see the skill based subjects, these are the approved CBSE subjects. So we have created our own curriculum here in the school with the help of CBSE, and we are offering these subjects to students. The student has a choice to pick up any of these subjects. What is the difference when we offer these subjects? What we have done at the school level, we have created a feeder school model where student, once entering the Shri Vishwakarma Skill University School, Innovation School, has an opportunity right from class 8th onwards until PhD to be within the school and aligned to the vocational modeling that we have done for the higher education. So what we have done at the school level is we have recreated the infrastructure. We have developed a very structured teacher training process. The curriculum has been revamped and redesigned with applied learning. And then the pedagogical intervention. This is the first university where we have developed a pedagogy department. And this pedagogy department focuses on bringing in new methods and new pedagogies to teaching. Besides, the target of this pedagogy is also to align with the national skill qualification framework. So whichever programs we have identified, the teaching methods we have identified, we have made sure that the level of that respective qualification is mapped with the competencies that are required for that. And then the new rubrics have been developed for the assessments. So assessments are also designed on the outcome basis. Besides all this, we have made sure there are 5 Lok Vidyas integrated in the school. So the children have a choice. They can pick up any one Loka Vidya during their school days and master that Loka Vidya during the period they stay with the school. Or that's the choice that the students have been given. So this is how we are focusing right now at the Vishwakarma Skill University for KG to PG model. And I'm sure this will bring in a little difference in the approach a student today has and the values this vocational education right at the early stages, rather than vocational education gets forced on the children. And our focus is not to only create job seekers, our focus is to create job creators from the institution. So as they grow, they not only look for the job, but they try to create jobs themselves. So I stop myself here. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.